Hello, good morning. Magandang umaga po. We are going to talk today about a very important message. It could be a correction to what I previously talked about, or not necessarily a correction, but in addition to. And that has something to do with Medicare Part C insurance coverage, which is called the Advantage Plan. Okay, and this is for people who need coverage in the US as well as the Philippines. So you have to have an address in the United States as your permanent residence and be traveling only to the Philippines as a secondary residence, but you have to be either a US citizen or a permanent resident of the United States. This is very important, so I will discuss this with you. Stay with me. In my previous video, I did mention that the Advantage Plan, called Part C on Medicare, is very attractive because unlike supplemental plan, okay, that is sponsored by different companies, you're only covered for medical services overseas, not only in the Philippines, but overseas, for maybe 60 or 90 days. If you stay there beyond 90 days, then you got sick. You're out of luck. You have no coverage. That is the reason why I bought or I got an Advantage Plan. The Advantage Plan is more restrictive in that, let me back up. The supplemental plan gives you coverage in the entire United States, anywhere you are. You don't have to choose a doctor. You're not limited to a particular doctor or a particular hospital or ambulance, etc., etc. In an Advantage Plan, it's like an HMO. The service provider will choose a member of the group, which means if you get out of your residence, your house, your area, then you have a problem. But of course, both of them, supplemental and Advantage, will cover you for emergency and urgent care services. All right. Now, why did I get the Advantage Plan? The Advantage Plan will cover you worldwide, which obviously includes the Philippines. And that means you could stay there for 3, 6, 9 months. I still would come back every year to the United States. That's why I have a residence in the United States. And this is the situation. Usually, as I mentioned before, and this may still apply, when you have an Advantage Plan, you have to pay the service provider, the hospital, in advance, and then file a claim in the United States for you to get reimbursed. That procedure in itself is in the policy that I have, and I have Humana, okay? And that's why I announced that in my previous video. Now, this lady, a viewer, was nice enough to share with me what she experienced. And here is the story. She had a relative who was checked in at the hospital. The name of the hospital is St. Luke's, the first-class, top-notch hospital in the Philippines, St. Luke's. Total bill was for $6 million. And she was asked to pay $2 million. Okay? So she paid $2 million. Then, by the way, there's like a 10-week delay or some delay before she contacted the insurance company. So then she filed a claim at the insurance company, and the insurance company paid the entire $6 million. But she already paid $2 million. The hospital is refusing to refund the $2 million that she paid. Again, let me repeat that. Total fee for services is $6 million. She paid $2 million, so she still needs $4 million. But when she filed a claim at the insurance company paid the hospital the entire $6 million. So the hospital really should return the $2 million that she paid. That's one thing bad about the Philippines. Once they have the money, it's hard to get it back. Too much fraud in the Philippines. Anyway, that is not the issue that I'm trying to cover here. I spent a good 1 hour talking to the insurance company, and by the way, the insurance company is, what's the name of the insurance company? Kaiser Permanente. That's Kaiser. That's Kaiser, Permanente. I talked to them. Took me an hour trying to locate the individual who could really help me out. And he said that Kaiser Permanente would pay the hospital directly. So the procedure, they said, is within 24 hours from the time you get hospitalized or you get confined, you should contact them. And they have somebody who speaks different languages. They will contact the hospital, and they will make arrangement for them to pay the hospital directly. Now, I never heard of that. Because most of the insurance companies that I talked to before, and this is the first time, by the way, that I talked to Kaiser, and Kaiser, by the way, does not sell supplemental. They only specialize on Advantage plans. They will call the hospital and they will pay them directly. Wow, that's good news. You know what that means? That means you can go ahead and buy from Kaiser a policy, and you do not have to have the cash to pay the hospital first and then seek reimbursement. I still would feel comfortable having the cash just in case, because sometimes, these coverages are really so bad that you don't know who you're talking to, whether you're getting the right information or not. But it's good to know that you do not have to have the cash to pay up front. Now, the bank may require some credit card payment or whatever just to secure the payment. Just be sure that whatever you pay, you communicate to the insurance company, to Kaiser, for example, okay? And when you disclose that to the insurance company, you are not relying on the hospital saying, oh, 2 million is already paid, we just need 4 million. Because the hospital may not say it, and if they don't say it, the insurance company will send them the 6 million. Okay? So, and also, because different companies have different, and different policies within the same company have different coverages, before you leave the United States, talk to them. What is the procedure? Obviously, I'm hoping I will not need to go to a hospital, but in case something happens and I get hospitalized, what is the procedure? Should I pay first? Should I tell you that I paid? Should I file next? Should I just communicate with you and you communicate with the hospital? Can you pay them directly? What is the procedure? Do not assume that what I said will apply in all cases. For example, I have not had any experience with Humana yet, but Humana, it's right there in black and white. It says you have to pay first. Now, I have not seen in black and white Kaiser Permanente's policy. Okay? It's because this is the first time I contacted them. But just make sure before you leave the country that you clarify what the procedure is for filing claims. Now, as an example, I told them, how much are you going to cover? And they said, in this example, let's say, and this is another good news, I thought they will only cover 80%. And I was going to ask them, is it 80% of the bill or 80% of the approved amount? And since medical services in the Philippines is so cheap, 80% of the approved amount will most likely cover the whole thing. Okay, but this is what they said. Well, we have certain deductibles. For example, if that was a heart attack, and by the way, I don't know what these viewers' sickness was when they checked in at the hospital, but let's say it's a heart attack, and you got billed 6 million. They said all you have to pay is $400 a day for 4 days. That means $1,600. And then they will pay the whole thing. No such thing as 20% copay or 80% only, or none of that. They'll pay 100%, but you have to pay the first 4 days of hospitalization, which means if you got hospitalized for 5 days, you pay $1,600. If you got hospitalized for 1 year, you still pay $1,600. That is pretty good. That's pretty good. I wouldn't mind paying that amount instead of 6 million. How much is 6 million? About $120,000. That's a lot of money. So I just want to relay that information to you that it is not true that in all cases, in all policies, in all insurance companies, that you have to pay in advance. Here is one example when Kaiser will pay the hospital directly and you do not have to have the cash, except for the deductible, of course. Okay? So hopefully that clarifies that. And if I get any additional information in the future, I will let you know. I also asked the lady to send me the information, the viewer, to send me the information on local policies in the Philippines. I will be interested, but in all likelihood, it will be more expensive than what I have in the US, because in the US I have zero premium. Of course, I have to pay for Part B about $130, $140. And Part B, you have to be covered. You have to pay for before you can get covered by any other policies. Okay, so I hope this is helpful to you, and please do share it with other friends and relatives, and because this information may be very useful to them if they are planning to retire in the Philippines. And as soon as I get the information about local insurance companies, I will try to get some information on that too and relay it to you. Okay. So please do share this with others, and do hit subscribe. I will appreciate that a lot. And click like if you don't mind. Thank you so much, and make it a great day.